respected members of the Board of Directors of the Bank of Mauritius, representatives of the IMF and the World Bank, Chair of the MBA and CEO of the MBA, Chief Executives of banks, respected members of the media, ladies and gentlemen, I bid you a very warm welcome to the Bank.
Governor of the Bank of Mauritius, First Deputy Governor of the Bank of Mauritius, respected members of the Board of Directors of the Bank of Mauritius, representatives of the IMF and the World Bank, Chair of the MBA and CEO of the MBA, Chief Executives of banks, respected members of the media, ladies and gentlemen, I bid you a very warm welcome to the bank.
That makes it a double welcome in that case. Well, we are very fortunate to have experts from the IMF, World Bank, central banks, and also eminent technologists who will today enlighten us on the future of CBDC. That is just the theme of today's workshop. Without much further ado, I'd like now to invite Mr. Avril, who's the Unit Chief in Digital Advisory Unit at the IMF. So the floor is yours.
Good morning. Are we morning? Yes, I think we are morning. I'm jet lagged. My name indeed is Avril. I lead the Digital Advisory Unit at the IMF. Mr. Governor, thank you very much for having us. Board members, division heads, head of division, and CEOs, thank you for having us today. I'm quite excited, quite honestly, to get started with you this 3 days of workshop organized by the Bank of Mauritius. First of all, congratulations to the Bank of Mauritius. The amount of work that has been put behind this organization is enormous, is fantastic, and we're up to a very good start. Excellent organization. I'm quite excited because we created this community of practitioners about 18 months ago. And if any of you have participated to committees of practice before, you've seen committees of practice coming and going, fizzling out after a while. This particular one is growing every single time that we have a meeting. It's now the 10th meeting, the second one in person. And every time we have more and more members of central banks joining. We even have the BIS Innovation Hub joining us today officially. So it's exciting because it shows that CBDC and the technology behind CBDC is generating an enormous amount of interest. People do realize that the technology, in a way, is moving faster than our individual ability to catch up with it. So only collaboration will enable us to catch up with technology, to do something useful with technology, to create a functioning CBDC, should that be the goal of the central bank, at the minimum, as of where we are today, to understand the abilities and the promises and the risks of CBDC. This is what this community of practice is for. This is what it has been created. And I must say, with 35 central banks in this community of practice, the BIS Innovation Hub, about 85 members, this has become a unique, the biggest community of practitioners, technologists on CBDC in the world. And it's, in that aspect, its ability to be useful to the community at large is simply enormous. Today's workshops, tomorrow's and the day after tomorrow, will enable us to explore new territories, new questions, to exchange knowledge, experiences that we have across central bank, which again is the only way to move forward rapidly at the pace that is expected of us. So with that, I would like to welcome again everybody and wish everybody an excellent 3 days of workshop.
Thank you so much, Mr. Taupe, for this short statement, but a sweet one, which crystallizes everything. I like the sense about the abilities, the promises, and also the risks. That will be the focus of today's action. And I have the pleasure and privilege of inviting Mr. Ahmed Faragana, who is the Senior Financial Sector Specialist from the World Bank, to deliver his address.
Mr. Governor, actually, it's great to be here in Mauritius. It's a beautiful country, and I have to say that it's always for me a great pleasure to come here and thank you so much for hosting this event and for the great preparation of the central bank for the last few months, actually, not only days. Coming to the CBDC, I have to say here that CBDC is a tough project. It's not an easy project. A lot of central banks are actually engaging in the idea of issuing CBDC, either, with different stages, either by research, going in a proof of concept, piloting, and others. And even some central banks, few central banks already issued CBDC. So I think it's not an easy job, it's not an easy project. And it engages a lot of departments from the central bank as well. You have the monetary policy, financial stability, payment systems, legal, and as well the technology, which is an important part of the CBDC. This committee actually is a unique committee, and I appreciate a lot the work that is being done here by bringing all the experience from different central banks, bringing the experience of international bodies like the IMF, the World Bank, and the BIS here as well. Those experience actually adds a lot to the depth of knowledge, to the understanding, to the different aspects related to CBDC. Again, this would enhance at the end the final product. I was just having a conversation with Mr. Governor, and he actually pointed an extremely important point within the discussion, that CBDC is actually needs an important aspect related to the acceptance of the population, because at the end the central bank could make a great product, could make a great solution, but at the end it may not be accepted by the citizens. This is a really big challenge, and looking at this point from the very beginning actually shows a lot about the vision of the Bank of Mauritius on this. The final beneficiary of this product is the citizen, and unless you have the acceptance of the citizens, it wouldn't be as successful. One other point, maybe for me as well, is that CBDC is not a short project that will go live and it will be the end. No, I think you will need to make enhancements and developments and changes in the product for a very long time, and always you will need more work on the CBDC. So this is not a one-phase project. This would be tens of phases for the project. I'd like to thank you so much, and I think we will have 3 rich days of conversation, dialogue, and presentations and exchanging experience. I wish you actually to enjoy it, and thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Faragana, for underlining that this is not just a simple journey, but a very long one, and we look forward to benefit from the support of all stakeholders and also international institutions like the IMF and the World Bank. Ladies and gentlemen, I have now the privilege of inviting the Governor of the Bank of Mauritius to deliver his keynote address. Governor Silam, the floor is yours.
Thank you, Basil. Members of the board of the Bank of Mauritius, the first Deputy Governor, also chairperson of the Financial Services Commission, representatives joining us from the International Monetary Fund and the World Bank, as well as the BIS, representatives of other central banks joining us both physically and virtually, chairperson of the MBA, CEO of the MBA, CEOs of banks and financial institutions, members of the media, distinguished guests, ladies and gentlemen, a very good morning to all of you. It gives me great pleasure to welcome you at the Bank of Mauritius. At the very outset, I wish to put on record the proactiveness and willingness we have been witnessing from the IMF, the World Bank, and the BIS, as well as other central banks, with respect to this very event. The mere presence of international institutions and central bank representatives from across the world with us today testifies both the willingness and the interest of everyone in what we're calling the future of money and the role of central banks. I wish to convey my gratitude to the IMF and the World Bank group community of technologists for allowing the Bank of Mauritius the opportunity to host this very important meeting, the more so that I understand that it is for the very first time that this meeting is being held outside Washington, D.C. Ladies and gentlemen, it is very fitting that the theme of this landmark meeting today, future of central bank money in a digital world, for us as central bankers, preparing for the future means getting everything right, as from the very beginning. Central bank digital currencies, commonly known as CBDCs, as you're all aware, entail much more than mere digital representations of a central bank currency. CBDCs may have critical implications on both domestic as well as international economic and financial stability. Like it or not, the fact remains that unexpected frictions inevitably emerge when it comes to designing the CBDC or implementing and operating it. Can I hear that? Speaking about technology. Yeah, we're back on. That's what I was referring to, unexpected frictions, we have to be prepared. Central bankers, as I was saying, have their own legitimate apprehensions, which drive them to always tread very carefully, sometimes even too carefully, to the taste of fintech operators, as well as new operators in the field of payment technologies. I think here we have a real problem with technology. So double check for station. Can I be heard at the back? Yeah, so I'll continue. That's fine. So coming back, basically, one of the most important stumbling blocks, I must say, is coming to terms with the notion that a CBDC cannot be near cash. If not, as we were just speaking a few minutes earlier, acceptance will be an issue. What we need is a solution that is cash-like for the public to accept it. It needs to be as convenient, it needs to be as safe, and it needs to be as trusted as cash, though digital in nature. A CBDC must be construed as a type of payment instrument to be made available to one and all. Hence, it should be working just as efficiently as any other existing mode of payment. True it is that across the world, various central banks are limiting the use of CBDCs to specific types of payments. And this is an option that we are also considering here in Mauritius. This is something that we will be communicating in due course. And it is particularly more pronounced in countries with well-established payment systems, as end users may have little motivation to switch to other modes of payments. It goes without saying that industry buying and the public's trust is very critical in the CBDC journey. As a matter of fact, the success of CBDCs hinges on awareness. CBDC experiments can be subject to various challenges, often unexpected ones. That is why it is critical that central banks collaborate with each other and with international institutions, as well as with their respective stakeholders and the public, for meaningful implementation of their respective CBDCs. Amidst the growth of private payment systems, the incursion of big techs in the payment arena, and the potential risk of partial displacement of legal tender by private crypto assets, central banks started a couple of years ago to explore the possibility of the issuance of their own respective digital currencies. The extensive research conducted by international organizations, including the Bretton Woods institutions, as well as the BIS, have significantly contributed to our understanding of CBDCs. Ladies and gentlemen, 2 weeks ago, the IMF launched its handbook on CBDCs in prelude to an International Monetary Fund panel on CBDC in the context of the 2023 IMF World Bank spring meetings. I was delighted to be given the opportunity to contribute to that panel by showcasing the Mauritius experience and sharing our experience and lessons learned so far. This handbook that the IMF has published stands as a beacon for central banks along their journey towards creating and rolling out their respective CBDCs. In this ephemeral digital environment, a number of central banks have adopted a wait-and-see approach with respect to CBDC, both conceptually and in practice. Other central banks, on the other hand, have been very actively working to gauge the pertinence and interest of digital currencies and understand the challenges and benefits that stem from them. At the level of the Bank of Mauritius, we decided to be on the more proactive side. Shortly after I assumed office back in 2020, I deemed that working on the creation of our own CBDC, our digital rupee, as we will be terming it in Mauritius, was to be one of our key priorities. As a central bank, I need not stress upon the determining role that CBDCs can play, not only in protecting monetary sovereignty, but also in assisting central banks and regulatory authorities on the front of AML/CFT matters. Ladies and gentlemen, CBDCs have been gaining traction globally. It is reported, as at today, that 114 countries, representing more than 95% of global GDP, are currently exploring a CBDC. While only 35 countries were considering a CBDC back in May 2020, today 60 countries are in advanced phase of development, pilot, or even launch of their CBDCs. As of December 2022, all G7 economies had embarked on the elaboration of a CBDC. Project CEDAR, the project of the Fed in the US, has moved the United States from research into development phase also already. 18 of the G20 countries are equally now in advanced stages of CBDC development. Of those, 7 countries are already in pilot phase as well. In spite of the number of CBDC experiments being carried out in various geographies, the sum total of insights on CBDCs is limited to the available research done so far. And the few proofs of concepts and even fewer pilot projects that have been implemented. To that effect, I mustered technical assistance from the IMF to ensure that our digital rupee was elaborated in the best possible conditions. I must put on record that the Bank of Mauritius has been the first central bank in the world to benefit from an IMF technical assistance in this respect as well. And I would here like to thank the IMF for their trust and continued support to the Bank of Mauritius. We, at the level of the Bank of Mauritius, we have adopted a very prudent and cautious approach when it comes to our CBDC journey. In the preliminary stage, in the mid-2020s, basically, the Bank of Mauritius interacted with experts from different units of the fund who provided opportunities to strengthen our team's analytical and technological capabilities through brainstorming workshops. These laid out an early formulation of the thinking through the framework that we will be having potentially for CBDC in Mauritius. Following this, our team investigated objectives, pain points, challenges, use cases, technology, infrastructure, cybersecurity readiness, and the Bank of Mauritius's role. Further investigation was carried out on the design choices and the related legal foundations as well. The bank also engaged with the private sector all along this phase. The decision has now been taken already with respect to the digital rupee that it will be interest-free. Additionally, we have decided to adopt a two-tier distribution model to manage potential risk to monetary policy and financial stability. This two-tier model will also ensure that commercial banks continue to be fully involved in our CBDC journey and that there is no disintermediation of banks in the CBDC distribution. The milestone for our ongoing engagement with the IMF is the drafting of a feasibility study report in the case of Mauritius. This feasibility study allowed the Bank of Mauritius to identify design features that would make the CBDC more attractive in the Mauritian context. In parallel, we identified gaps in our technological know-how and solicited the support of technology arms of international institutions and other central banks from the G20 community. We took the decision to set up a sandbox in December last year, December 2022, to further experiment on the various features of our digital rupee. And this sandboxing exercise is currently underway. The findings will guide us to the crafting of the digital rupee based on the Mauritian specificities. We are contemplating the rolling out of our digital rupee on a pilot phase, post the sandboxing exercise and finalization of design attributes of our CBDC in November this year. Not later than yesterday, the steering committee on the CBDC met with banks representatives along with those from the IMF and our chosen partner for the sandboxing exercise. I understand that this session was very interactive as commercial banks have the opportunity to have a better insight on the work that the Bank of Mauritius is currently undertaking. I would here encourage all CEOs of banks present and those who are not present as well to be closely following developments in this area together with their technical teams, given the strategic importance of the digital rupee in our landscape. The Bank of Mauritius does not envisage to limit its exploration at the domestic front, but is also considering the use of CBDCs for cross-border transaction as phase 2. This may be a solution to current frictions in cross-border payments and a means to achieve the G20 objective for faster, cheaper, more transparent and secure cross-border payments. I must say that we've already started engaging with a number of other central banks, and we are in advanced stages of finalizing collaboration model with other central banks also to this end. I'm also pleased to share that the Bank of Mauritius has been invited to join the Commonwealth Initiative for the promotion of technology and artificial intelligence. We are eager to share our experience as regards to the development of the digital rupee and how the CBDC can help improve customer experience and financial inclusion while allowing for better supervision and oversight. Ladies and gentlemen, The IMF World Bank biannual meetings, which we are currently hosting in Mauritius, allows us to put the spotlight on all concerns we may have and discuss the solutions for overcoming existing challenges and anticipating potential ones. It is indeed a preeminent platform whereby technical discussions on topical matters allow central bankers to have candid discussions on the best approaches to be adopted. True it is that the implementation of CBDCs touches the core of central bank mandates of monetary and financial stability, and that each country should consider its own requirements and subsequently adapt the design features of their respective CBDCs to ensure the intended policy objectives and specificities are being met, while certainly mitigating associated risk. In the new post-COVID global financial architecture that is currently taking shape around us, the potential of the use of CBDCs is and will be much more prominent. It is therefore vital that we are able to adapt ourselves and be ready to act in the most appropriate manner in this new financial architecture. At the Bank of Mauritius, we are already gearing up for this. I have noted that the agenda over the next 3 days is indeed a very packed one, but I'm certain that what participants will reap in terms of knowledge, experience, and sharing will simply be priceless. We are fortunate that eminent subject matter experts from all continents have willingly accepted to put their expertise at the disposal of the central banking community. We are very eager to hear about the participants' experiences on their respective CBDC journeys, not only on the payment system side, but also on the monetary and financial stability sides. The lessons on consumer experience, consumer protection, including challenges and solutions for service delivery, will benefit the greater number. Certainly, a number of pertinent questions from market players and consumers will keep rising all along this journey. As central bankers, it is our duty to reflect on them and provide meaningful answers. Ensuring strong privacy standards while meeting financial compliance rules, who will be able to access sensitive CBDC payment data, that's a big question right now, and for what purpose, are some of the questions for which we will need concrete answers. My call to all participants is to make the most of this opportunity for interacting with peers, sharing experiences, and working together to devise the best possible approach for the elaboration and the rolling out of CBDCs. Before I end, I would like to reiterate the need for closer collaboration between participants, stakeholders, the public in general, and central banks across the world. Next month, the Bank of Mauritius will be issuing a document for public consultation on the digital rupee. I would like to encourage all stakeholders concerned to be fully involved in the discussions and share their views, as this will be a major block for us to step on to the rolling out of the digital rupee in November this year. On this note, I wish you all fruitful deliberations, and I thank you for your attention.
Thank you for your keynote address, Governor, and ladies and gentlemen. Please bear with us for this small technical issue. I think it's time to change from an analog system to a digital audio system. Well, ladies and gentlemen, we've now come to the end of this formal opening. I would just like to ask our colleagues to guide the participants and the ladies and gentlemen on the first row for a photo session, which will be taken downstairs. In the interim, I would like to invite the CEOs and other guests just to stay seated for a few minutes. I thank you for your attention. In the interim, I know that last time we punished you for a few minutes. We'd just like to invite you all for a cup of coffee or tea and some biscuits. Thank you.